All right, well, this is the next session. We're going to talk about why you should stay small and a little bit about how. But before we get started, I want to kind of get a sense of who's here. Who's a one-person agency? Two-person? Three? Four? Five? Anybody bigger than that? Big agencies? Okay, well, you guys can probably, hopefully you can learn something too. Any non-agency people here? Okay, didn't think so. We're going to talk a little bit today about how and why you should be a small consultancy in the inbound VAR world. And it was kind of interesting. We did this presentation about 2 months ago. Patrick made me get it done a month ahead of time because he didn't want to do anything last minute. And we talked about why, how, and a little bit of what. And it's been interesting since I got here on Monday. I've heard some guy did a TED presentation about how and why, or how and what, and you focus on the why. Well, I kind of set my presentation up that way. So we're going to talk today about why you should be an inbound agency, small agency, a little bit more about how you can do that. The what's going to be up to you for the most part, though. Before we get into the whys, I want to tell you a little bit about us. So this presentation is going to be a little different than some of the other ones you talked about. I would consider this more of a case study presentation. It's kind of a case study on top-line results. And top-line results was started a little over 3 years ago after I got fired from a job that I hated and working for a company I didn't like. So I decided over about a 3-day period that, along with my wife, that I would never work for another person again unless I didn't have, it had to be an emergency to work for somebody. So we just decided we were all in, and we spent 3 days saying, what do we do? And what we did, what we came up with was a very simple value statement. And our value statement was we help B2B companies, and in particular, industrial and manufacturing companies, grow their top line by helping people implement common sense sales, marketing, and business development principles. Seems pretty simple, but it has the 3 things you have to create value if you're going to have a small agency. It has to have a passion. Okay, our passion was working with industrial and manufacturing companies. We have to have a skill. We were really good at sales and marketing. I did it for 20, 25 years as a VP of sales for industrial and manufacturing companies. And there had to be a need. Pretty obvious there's a need in the marketplace for this. So we had the 3 things, and we're going to come back to that a little bit. But our company is myself, my wife, and my daughter. And there's just us 3, no other employees. Actually, we're not employees, we're all owners. We do work with some contractors, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But my skill set was sales and marketing and business development. My wife was an IT professional, and my daughter is a copywriter, English major. Not a bad fit, right? So that's us. And our goal was to create a small agency around creating value for the target people we wanted to work with. So why we did it this way. Why we did it this way has a lot to do with us personally, our history, our background. Again, there was a lot of reasons why we did it we stayed small. But there's 2 whys. There's our why, which is our personal why, and then there's the market why. There's a big segment of the marketplace that wants you to stay small. And I'll make that case here in a few minutes. Actually, before I get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit more about who we are. I wasn't going to do this, but I will because a lot of people have asked me questions about this since we've been here. We're a gold level VAR with HubSpot. We've sold HubSpot or resold HubSpot services for 2.5 years. And we brought 17 clients to HubSpot that were ours that we found. We have 10 of those are currently retainer-based long-term clients. And we're on the service marketplace, and I think our service marketplace about 30 engagements with other clients that used HubSpot, that already were HubSpot clients and then hired us to do some project work or small things. So I just want to give you kind of a sense of the scale of what we've been able to do. So we're a gold level partner, and there's just 3 of us. So you can get there with those guys that all won the awards on Monday night. But again, you need to have a good strategy to do it. So that gives you a sense of kind of the size of who we are. One of the biggest reasons we did it this way, staying small with 3 people, was profitability. Number 1, we figured we could make more money doing what we love to do if we stayed small. Because again, employees, all the overhead, all the costs, and again, you can actually be a lower cost solution to your customer in terms of the dollars, but make more money. So that actually your customers like that. Another big one was focus. We didn't want to focus on the things that weren't value added to our clients, that weren't part of the passion that we had for industrial and manufacturing clients. We didn't want to be distracted by having to deal with all the other issues you have to deal with as soon as you have your first employee. And another big one for us was lifestyle. We live in Orlando, so there's lots of options for being outside, doing things. We have, in the summer, we have beach Fridays. We go to the beach every Friday afternoon. I have 3 kids, 3 younger kids, 9, 11, and 13, so we're very active in their lives. So having our business and having a business that was able to be reasonable to allow us to have the lifestyle we want was extremely important to us. So another big reason, that's kind of why we did it this way. The next thing I want to talk about is why the market wants you to stay small to be successful. And you don't need to be a 30-person agency to work for a large client. You just need to be valuable. So again, we've seen the value comes from that passion, that skill, and the intersection of need. And in the marketplace you're working in with inbound, there's a huge need for this in the marketplace. And we've seen this from firms that are 1 person all the way up to firms that are 100 million plus. And there's space and there's room in there for people that can create value around inbound marketing with other skill sets to be valuable. This is an interesting why chart, and I'll explain this. This shows that the types of businesses, the way businesses are being created these days are changing. It used to be there was kind of more of a bell-shaped curve distribution of business size. There was small, medium, and large businesses. One of the trends we've been monitoring, and this trend's actually accelerating, is that there's more small businesses, there's very few in the middle, or fewer in the middle, and there's larger businesses. It's called a barbell-shaped distribution. It kind of looks like a barbell. And the reason why I think that has a big impact on the why the market wants you to stay small is that they have very, very particular needs. The needs have changed across the spectrum from on either end of the barbell. So if you're a small firm, which we would all be in that area, you have a much larger opportunity to deal with a lot different market segments, a lot different niches, whether it's geographic, international. You can get into very, very specific subsets of a specific skill, whether it's accounting or whether it's human resources or whether it's strategy or whether it's lean manufacturing. You can get into very specific subsets of skill set. On the large end, again, you have lots of other trends driving that. And what the real big trend there is that when firms tend to get medium-sized, they tend to get gobbled up by the bigger companies. They get purchased and they merge because they can't compete anymore. They can compete when they're small, they're nimble, they're lean, but when they kind of get into that middle, they get the attention of the big guys, they start to drive them, out of the market. Either drive them out by competition or they buy them. So ultimately though, whether you're on the small end of the barbell or the large end of the barbell, business owners want results. So one of the key premises that we founded our agency on, and we live this every day, is that we don't sell inbound marketing services, that we don't sell a particular skill set. We sell business results. Again, it sounds simple. You'll hear that lots of other people talk about it. It's not a new concept, but the key is in the execution. I think this is the key #1 factor that's led to our success as a company. Because in the first 3 days after I got fired, it still hurts to say that, but the first 3 days after I got fired, we realized that we had to create something kind of different, that we didn't want to just be a service provider. We wanted to be able to create lots of value. And again, the bottom line is the more value you can create, the lower your labor intensity, the higher your margins. It's that simple. We wanted to create a lifestyle company where we did great things for great companies, got paid a lot, and didn't have to work 100 hours a week. So business owners want results, and what are those results? Pretty simply, revenue growth, very common, not a challenge to find people that need to grow their revenue. People need, again, profitability, which is actually, in most cases, more important than revenue growth for a lot of companies. And again, I'll talk a little bit later about how you can connect profitability with inbound. Building management processes. We deal with a lot of companies in the industrial space that have no clue on how to manage leads. They don't even know what a sales funnel is. They don't know what bottom of the funnel, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel offers are. No idea how to manage that internally. Their sales process is usually just calling the sales guy in and saying, go sell something. So there's opportunities there. Strategy, which the guys before did a very nice job talking about how you can connect inbound with strategy and how you can sell that as an agency, as well as people development. Lots of opportunities out there for people development. And as a matter of fact, We actually worked with one of our clients. We've used inbound marketing to help them find employees. One of their hardest problems they had was not necessarily growing sales, which was an issue, but their biggest problem was managing the sales that they had and the growth that they were seeing. They couldn't find good employees that had the skill sets they need, so we used social media, we used inbound marketing, we used their blog to find employees, and it worked. Execution. Companies, again, on both ends of the barbell, you'll see small companies don't necessarily know how to do inbound marketing or grow their business. Large companies on the top end have either forgotten how or don't understand how to really integrate the new technologies and inbound and the ideas into their process, so that there's opportunities for you. The point is that the value you create, that intersection of the passion, skill, and need, lies right here. What you sell as a small agency should be that value. The value has to be, in their eyes, what they value, and it has to be something that relates to their business goals, not leads or visits or conversions. Those are tools. Again, other really good reasons to stay small. Another large trend is the idea of outsourcing core functions. Again, we all know this. That's what we're looking for these clients to do, right? They're looking for them to outsource to us. The idea of contingent workers, and I believe that this is even going to continue to accelerate with things that are going on right now in terms of regulation. It's going to be advantageous for companies to hire contingent workers and outsource work. So again, a great why for why you need to be a small agency. Be available ready for that. Certainly, technologies like we saw this morning from HubSpot, the ability for them to accelerate the ability for small companies with 2 or 3 people to be able to deliver really high value, really high quality work. The tools are there for you to do it. You reduce risk, lower overhead, lower cost, flexible, nimble, able to switch on a dime, be able to react quickly. Again, for me, this is one of my favorites. I like keep it simple, eliminate a lot of headaches, a lot of unnecessary non-value-added issues to your customers by growing your size of your company. And again, you can use that as a competitive advantage. You can go in and use that as part of your sales process. Again, I'll get into this later, but if you go in as a business owner, as a peer to that client, you now are at a higher level. You're at a peer level position. You have the opportunity to be a trusted advisor as opposed to, say, sending an account manager that you may be, if you had a larger agency, you would have to send an account manager in. Again, your profitability can be increased. And again, you have the opportunity to become that trusted advisor where you can build longer relationships and consult on a broader range of issues. That is where you can build long-term profitability. Whereas a small agency, you can be viewed as a long-term partner and be positioned to stay there for the long term with your clients. And again, lifestyle, my favorite one. So, the key is if you sell results, the size of your company does not matter. Some of the very best consultants in this world that I know of are solo practitioners. They're one person who has a specific knowledge, who has expertise that they can deliver and get paid very highly for. We were successful and have been successful because that's how we've built our business. We are a consultancy, not an inbound marketing agency. We provide certain inbound marketing services, but it's always the consultancy that's dealing with those business issues, those business problems, and delivering those business results. Okay, so that's a little bit of why. Now we'll get into how a little bit. Is that working? Did I break it? There we go. Okay, so what we did is we specialize in specific business needs and not inbound marketing tactics. Again, may sound like obvious, but we've also run into lots of other companies who have lists of services or menus of tasks that they'll do, or we'll compete with companies that quote, we'll do 7 blog posts and we'll do this many of this, and it's all kind of boils down to hourly. And if you can take your proposal, this is a good test. If you can take your proposals that you do for clients and your presentations to them and boil it back to an hour, where you say, I do this many tasks and I get paid this much and it's this much per hour, you're probably not selling value. Because value is how they see it. They never see value in the tasks. They don't measure the value in those specific tasks you're doing. They measure the value in what they get from those tasks. So your job is to connect the dots between all the marketing tasks that you do, all the tools that you have, and how that's going to relate back to things like sales, profitability, how are their processes better internally, how are they being more efficient, how are they keeping more customers, how are they simplifying their lives. And again, from our perspective, I had enough background in these firms that I can consult on a really large range of issues. And they range from succession planning to sales distribution setup, international sales, pricing. So if you specialize, if you take whatever it is you're good at, whatever it is that passion is, whatever it is that skill set is that intersects with the need in the marketplace, and attach that, start with that, and then bring that to inbound. Start with what you're really great at, what real value you have, and add the inbound to it. You have an opportunity to really set yourself apart, create value, which creates revenue, which allows you to grow your business. If you stick with just tasks, if you stick with just a list of these things we do, the risk you have staying small is that you will run out of hours pretty quickly. So you'll get to a place where you either can work 14-hour days or you can't take on any more clients. So the goal is to get to a place where you can continue to take on clients at higher and higher revenue, less labor intensity to grow your business. And again, you have to focus on value if you're ever going to have any chance of doing that. And the value is defined by your customers. They're going to tell you what the value is. And again, I'll get into a little bit in the how we do that in a second here. That all make sense? Good. Real expertise, and then add inbound to it. Again, I don't know if Patrick's here. He may argue with me on this, but I personally don't think it's wise for small agencies to lead with inbound, to say, we're an inbound marketing firm and we're going to give you inbound marketing. Because your customers probably don't know what that is. They don't have context for that. They don't understand why they would do inbound marketing. They don't understand what the impact has on their business. But if you can create real expertise, whether it is in, again, attracting new business, launching new products, it could be dealing with startups, it could be dealing with strategy, it could be dealing with sales channel development, it could be dealing with general business consulting, it could be dealing with HR consulting, it could be anything. And if you're dealing with those business issues, you should be able to connect inbound to it and all the things that come behind it. So if you can layer on those other skills and expertise on top of it and add inbound, again, I think you've got a mix that can compete with just about anybody. We're in the service marketplace. And I think for do inbound marketing for me services, we're listed first. So HubSpot's metrics and all their stuff they figure out, they've got us listed first. And we're ahead of all the big agencies, all the guys that have 30 or 40 people that deliver inbound marketing services. So my point is you can layer in the services on top of that. You can deliver it and still compete with those bigger guys. I actually was on a conference call last night where I was late to the reception last night because I was taking a call, and we're competing with all those large agencies. And I told the guy right up front, I said, I'm not a big agency. We're not going to be a big agency. We're going to approach this a little bit differently. Not that they're bad. They're all great companies. They really are. But what we bring to the table is something a little different. We're going to be a business advisor to you. We're going to look at your overall company, where you want to go, what your goals are, and we're going to help you layer in inbound marketing and the things with it. Most of our clients don't necessarily touch HubSpot a whole lot. We have some clients where we coach, where we help with their internal team, but most of our long-term retainer clients, we actually do most of the work. So the issues or how HubSpot works or how many blog posts we did this week or things like that, they don't really care about. What they care about is, are the leads coming in? Are they turning those leads into sales? So again, how you're doing this, when we do marketing, we do diagnosis and deliver answers in the engagement. I love the guys earlier, what they talked about strategy. I think that was a very good presentation right before this one. And they talked about being able to talk about strategy. And inbound is a strategic issue. Most CEOs, most presidents of companies you're going to deal with don't necessarily understand that this is really a boardroom level issue. It's a senior management owner level issue. The new territory in the world is online. It's not, can you cover the sales territory or could you be in this magazine? It's online. Most companies, at least in the sectors we deal with, aren't doing very well online. They're not attracting a lot of people to them yet. They haven't really understood content marketing. Typically, they have a poverty mentality when it comes to content. They don't want to share it. They're afraid. Well, my competitors are going to copy it or somebody's going to see it. Well, you don't put your trade secrets out there, but you have to be valuable. You understand content. We don't need to get into that. But we use the marketing when we talk to people about the gaps between where they're at and where they could be in the context of inbound, and it always relates back to their goals. So and HubSpot does it beautifully. Visits, leads, customers. If you can have end-to-end reporting, you can now monetize and understand how your inbound marketing can connect to your business goals. So you've got to connect the tasks, how blogging drives traffic, which drives leads, which drives sales. You've got to be able to take all those things, show them that there's a strategy, diagnose in your marketing, see where their gaps are, understand where the missing pieces are, layer in your expertise, bring in inbound marketing, show them the value. You've got an opportunity. And then again, use inbound to reach goals. Inbound's not the goal. Inbound's not the purpose. It's not the reason. It's not the value. The value is their goals. How you use inbound to connect the two. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Picking the right clients. Does that sound right? Does sound right? You guys are comfortable with that? I think as a small agency, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is, I'll give you an example. So somebody calls you and says, I've got a project. I want 3 blog posts next month, and I want 2 landing pages, and I want this something. They come with you with a menu. Do you take that? Do you say, yeah, I'll take it? Or do you say, no? Okay. The answer is you don't necessarily take that deal, but you find out through your diagnosis if they have gaps, where the gaps are, why they want these things. If you can connect the why, then you put that in context. The temptation for a small agency is to take that job because you'll think one of 2 things. I need the money. We've all been there, right? Or I can convince them to upsell into a larger project if I get in the door. Has anybody done that? Use the guy to the door? Okay. My experience with those, maybe I'm just not good at it, is that for the ones that are, you take the task-based project to try to get in the door, we turn into what my wife calls Twitter monkeys. And you end up just doing the rote tasks. And I actually had I fired a client this week. It felt so good. We were doing blog posts for them, and they were improving, and they were seeing improvement, and they were getting leads, and they were closing business, and I thought it was going fine. And he called me up and he said, I didn't like that blog post. I'd like you to change the title to this, and I'd like you to use these keywords. My reaction was, hell no. No. Why would I do that? The keywords you picked aren't keywords. The keywords we picked are keywords. So I realized that we had allowed that engagement to get to a point where they were wagging the dog. They were telling us what tactics to use, what tasks to accomplish, or the things we had to do every day. The problem was it had been disconnected from the goals. It had been disconnected from the real value, which was, are we driving sales to your business? Now, he had some personal issues, so again, it made me happy to say no, to fire them, but it is about picking the right clients, especially if you're small. You cannot afford to waste time with bad prospects or bad targets. You have to focus on good targets, the ones that are right for you, the ones that value what you do. So that's my target client. Anybody know who that is? You ever see the show Breaking Bad? I love that show. That's Walt, and that's our number one, that's our persona, right? We followed the rules, right? We did a persona development. We got a 3-page description of who Walt is. Walt, for us, is a guy who started a manufacturing business 20 years ago, or maybe his family did. He's anywhere from $5 to $50 million in revenue. He knows technology, gets it. Website's not very good. Gets a couple leads, traditional marketing, trade shows, ads, sales reps, distributors, things like that. So what I know about this guy, though, is he does not usually hire an agency. And the ones he's hired, he's not been happy with because he's a business owner. He's an entrepreneur. He deals with the day in, day out stuff in his business all the time. He knows it inside and out. He does not want to hear from some 27-year-old account manager about what paid ads were done last week. He doesn't want to hear it. What he wants to do is he wants to deal with peers. He wants to deal with people who understand his business and who understand how to help him grow his business. And he hires people he knows and trusts. Typically, again, this is for us. I recommend you go to this level of detail. But he hires people on referrals. He does not hire an inbound marketing agency based on an internet search. The guys before me said the same thing. They get about 40% of their business from referrals. Ours is even higher than that. We get business from our business. So there's actually another persona here. It's Walt Jr. It's his son. This is a family-owned business that was passed down. A bunch of the HubSpot guys know Walt Jr. But that's just a little tip. Is Patrick in here? One of the things you can do with HubSpot as a small agency, I strongly recommend this. HubSpot's a great asset to salespeople within HubSpot. Create personas that are easy to remember, they're easy to communicate, and tell everyone in HubSpot you know who your persona is. You will get phone calls. I ran into a sales manager right before Brian Halligan's presentation this morning. We did a deal a year and a half ago. We did one deal together, see him every once in a while, and he walked up to me. Within 30 seconds, he brought up Walt and Walt Jr. He remembers them. He knows our personas. So when they run across a problem or they have an issue, they'll call you. That's my inside tip of the day. Okay, selling. Who likes to sell? Oh, come on. That's it? Oh, if you're a small business, you have to sell. You have to be good at selling, really good at selling. So, number one tip for selling small agencies, you have to have that persona. Okay, so if you have a persona, the first thing you do is you qualify, right? The HubSpot guys talk about BANT, I think. I have a person who I train people and teach people how to do qualifying. It's called Mr. TAN. Mr. TAN. MRTAN. Money, revenue, timing, authority, need. Do they have enough money to hire you? Okay, if you're on the barbell end of the spectrum with small companies, and you've got a company that has $3,000 a month in revenue, you're not going to get a $3,000 a month retainer, so they don't have enough money. Do they have the revenue? Or excuse me, backwards. If they have the money, they have a budget. Lots of companies, you'll get a call from, say, Marketing Mary, or somebody even worse, like an intern asking about HubSpot or inbound marketing services. First question is, do you have a budget? And they don't have a clue. They don't have a budget. You're not talking to the decision maker. So you got to figure out whether they have enough revenue to support you and whether they have a budget to spend now. And I promise you, if you're dealing with Walt, which is our persona, or if you're dealing with the business owner, he'll find a budget. It's there. They have money. It's just, have you convinced them to spend it? Then the timing, obviously, you have to have the right timing to be dealing with the authority, and they have to have the need. So that's Mr. Tan. That's my qualifying thing. But selling, again, you're only going to deal with the economic buyer. And again, it could be the president, could be the CEO, could be the VP of sales and marketing. Though as a VP of sales and marketing for 20 years, I hate VPs of sales and marketing. I do. I won't talk to them. The last one I dealt with, I told him, I said, you and I are either going to be best friends or worse enemies. And I've turned him into my best friend. So, but he doesn't make the decision. At best, they're influencers. And again, I promise you, if you get to the CEOs, if you get to the people that have the money, that have the decision-making capability, all they care about, what keeps them up at night, is their business goals. How do I reach our objectives? How do we reach the goals that we're set for our company? If you can tap into that, take your expertise, the intersection of your skill, your passion, and the need in the marketplace, and talk to that CEO or that owner about that, convince them that you have an opportunity and skill and passion and the need to fix or help them achieve those business goals, you'll get the budget, you'll get their attention. But you got to focus on the economic buyer. Somebody talked to me last night, was talking about trying to sell $4,000 retainers. I don't know if she's here or not. I don't want to pick on her, but she said she was talking to the VP of the marketing. And the first thing I said was, they'll never spend that much money. You got to talk to the boss. So build a relationship first, not a proposal or menu. Because again, at the end of the day, small agency, you're selling you. You're selling your capabilities, your skill set, your particular abilities. You've got to build that relationship first. If you just send a proposal in, if you just send in a menu of services, you're going to lose. Or you're going to get, even worse, you're going to get compared to the next agency. You're going to get price compared. What you want to do is set up a situation where no one has your particular skill set, where you're unique, you're special, you've got a unique positioning and a unique value statement within a particular market or segment where you can create that specialized value, that differentiation, and then you can build a relationship. Come to agreement on the issues. You want to deal with what the benefits they expect and your role in delivering that value. Again, this is not about a specific set of tasks. This is agreement on what the problems are in their company. Big difference. A lot of people qualify real well. They find out how many employees, how much sales, this, that, and the other thing, but they really don't dig in or ask the questions about what the goals are. If you just ask them, if they say, well, we want more leads, don't be satisfied with that. Dig into it. Why don't you have more leads? Why do you need more leads? Why don't you have more leads now? Why do you want to be competitive online? Why do you want to do this stuff? Keep asking the why question to dig into the deeper stuff, tap into that core business goal that they're trying to achieve, and then you have an opportunity to create a presentation and to create an offering, again, that'll set you apart. The last thing you do is then you summarize your agreement. My particular habit is to never send a proposal that I don't know has already been accepted. So I don't send it until I know we've agreed on the objectives, we've agreed on exactly what we're going to create, we've agreed on exactly what the goals are for them, what their value they receive. I spell that out, get agreement, and then our price, if I've done my job, and we're pretty good, probably 80% close rate I would bet on the proposals we submit, then when it comes down to that line item that says how much is this going to cost, it's going to be an investment. The investment is this. They've already been thinking about the value, the return. So if they're thinking about $5 million in growth, and we say that's going to cost them $100,000, it's not, a business owner, Walt, has no problem writing that check. No problem. Somebody who's dealing with budgets, somebody who's dealing with tasks, won't look at it that way. They'll look at you as a cost. So again, we don't present until we've summed up the agreement and know that we've got conceptual agreement completely on what we're actually going to create. So agreement, the actual agreement consists of objectives. Again, that's always business goals, never deliverables. I hate that word deliverable. I hate it. I can't stand it, because every time I've been in that situation, what happens is, if the client's not happy, what do I say? I delivered what I said I was going to deliver. Now the conversation's confrontational. They're saying, well, I didn't get this. Well, I say, yes, you did. You got your 3 blog posts. You got your this. You got your that. Keep it back. Stay on those business goals. Stay with that. The way we do it is we'll say, again, if there's a conceptual agreement, it's very easy for me to say, we're going to create as much content as you need. How many blog posts are we going to do? We're going to do as many as we need to. And we keep the conversation at that level, because it is about those business goals. It's not about the specific tactics. And again, deliverables. If your customer's talking about deliverables, you're probably, I won't say you lost them, but you're down that road, right? And business owners won't talk about deliverables. They'll talk about accountability and results. So you're going to have to deliver results. You may have to be accountable. They may want to see you. They may want to have regular calls to update who's doing what. They may want to have a reporting thing where you kind of see, outlines of agendas of who's doing what, responsibilities. That's different. That's not deliverables. That's just good project management. But again, you also agree on metrics. Before we send a proposal, we've agreed on what success looks like. We know what we're looking to do. We know that we're trying to generate $2 million in revenue in a year, and we're working backwards from that. And we're always keeping that goal in mind. That's got to be number one. And everybody has to agree. It has to be, in my mind, again, it has to be extremely specific. What do you want to accomplish? What are the goals here? And again, I think as a small agency, it's easier for you to do that. I think you have the ability to be flexible and pick and choose. I've got a client that we have a retainer with. It's a commercial real estate company. And it's a small retainer. It's like $1,500 a month. And they have 30 brokers, and it's like 30 different clients, really, because they're all different. They all market to different segments. It's a lot of work, and it's not a lot of money. But there's a reason why we do it. The reason we do it is, if they're successful in our home market of Orlando, who does a commercial real estate developer deal with? Lots of other businesses. So I have an explicit agreement with this business owner that success equals, his growth equals huge referrals for me. It's explicit, right up front. I'm doing this for referrals. We're going to make you a success, and success for me is you introducing me to all your clients. That's right up front. Again, value. Value is the effect on the client and their company. Value is not a blog post. Value is not the content. It's not a landing page. The value is how those things affect your client. Again, it's maybe a subtlety, a semantic thing, but it is a huge, huge difference. It'll make all the difference in the way you present, all the difference in the way you talk, and it'll make a huge difference in your fees as well. Okay, which is a good segue, because we're going to talk about getting paid. Who has a problem asking for big retainers? Anybody get embarrassed, kind of say, oh, it seems like high, or it just doesn't feel, yeah, well, you need to get paid, right? If you talk about value, if in your own mind, if you're thinking about the value you're creating and the value you're leaving behind, if you're talking about that increased revenue, if you're talking about that increased profitability, it's much easier to put your fee in the context of that large value. So it's much easier for you to start there, stay there, and then when you say, okay, well, our fee's $50,000 for a year, nice deal for a small agency, right? Who wouldn't like a $50,000 deal? I'd like them. I like them. But if we're talking about a $3 or $4 million revenue bump, that's in the right context. But if the context is I have deliverables and I have this schedule of menu items that I'm going to deliver, oh, and it's $50,000, what's that? That's a cost. They're looking at it as a cost. They're not looking at it as value. So it's always got to be about value. And then again, my favorite is, are you going to be just another vendor, or are you willing to be a consultant and get paid for value? A consultant's job is to change the client. They should be better off after you were there. They should be better off for having you as part of their team. Are you willing to step up and say, I have expertise, I have value, we as a team have something we can offer, and we're going to get paid for it? Okay, how do you add value? I'm going to keep hammering this. Help them reach business goals. Your language, your conversations, your case studies, how you approach people should all be about how you reach their business goals. We've been fortunate. I have clients who allow me to take their portal and show it to other people, and they have an explicit agreement to do this, as long as they're not a competitor, and show them how that here's where they started working with us, and here's after, and you see the chart going this way. So again, that's how you can, again, it's business goals, and again, we make sure those all have customers in it, right? That's the best shot, right? You see visits, leads, customers. And then, again, you're going to create meaningful engagements, not projects. Meaningful engagements are, I had one last week. I was in Texas with a client, and his business goals are different, and this is, an agency would have never got this, never. He's 62, so he's been in business for 25 years. Nice little manufacturing company in the oil and gas business. Who can guess what his number one goal is? He's 62. He wants to retire. He wants to retire. That's his number one goal. So everything we do is in the context of, he's got two options. He can get his son to come in and take it over, but then his son's going to have to buy him out and pay him enough to make so he can retire, or he's going to sell it. In the last 2 years, we've doubled the size of their business, helped them double the size of their business. I mean, we were a big part of it. And the son saw something that was worthy of him leaving his job. He actually worked for NASA to come and take it over. So that was his business goal. That's not something you're going to uncover by just asking the surface questions. So we got to that business goal. We're helping him get there. Now we have a 3-year plan to transition to the son, pay him out so he can live and play golf and whatever he wants to do. If they trust you, that's exactly right. If they trust you, you'll find that out. And I believe that a smaller agency, you have a better opportunity to do that. Again, I think in the maybe if you're going in the corporate world, I wouldn't even say the corporate world too. I think, I've dealt with some very large companies, and you can go in and position yourself with unique value, and build that trusted relationship. Oftentimes the agencies, you can have too many layers and get in the way of that. Also, this is a big one. You're a business person, a peer to your clients. You are not an account manager. I love it when I'm competing against an agency that has an account manager that's talking to them. I love it. I beat them every time. An account manager is not you. You are not an account manager. You are a business owner. You are a peer to these clients. I don't care if they're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. So are you. Not a billion-dollar company, but you're a CEO. You're a peer. Act like it. Talk to them like it. Be a peer to them, and you will position yourself in a place that other people can't get. So that when that VP of sales or that VP of marketing comes sniping at you, he can't hurt you because you're dealing with the business owner. You've got an agreement on how you're going to reach their business goals, and you've convinced them that you can help them get there. And that's what keeps him, her, or him awake at night, and that's what's going to be valuable to them. And again, this is one I actually work with. I have to fight personally. I realized I was a consultant after having been an employee for so many years, when I realized I couldn't blame my clients for not doing the things I asked them to do, or I recommended them to do. I realized that if they weren't doing the things I was recommending, I wasn't doing my job. It wasn't their fault, it was my fault. So a consultant helps them set their goals, keep them on track to meet them. Again, always tying things back to those corporate goals. How are they reaching them? Again, I'm going to have to go quick because I always talk too much. So structure. Build your own marketing engine. Do inbound, but don't, again, HubSpot people, close your ears. I don't think small agencies can only rely on inbound. If you try to beat Kuno Creative at the inbound marketing on inbound marketing, you can't. They're better. They're going to create more content faster. Impact branding. Those guys are great. Bob Ruffalo. You're not going to beat them. You're not going to create 4 pieces of content a day if you're an individual agency. Don't try. Pick your niche, market, use inbound for your niche. Whatever that value is, market around that. But the marketing engines, referrals is a big one. Heavy-duty referrals. You've got to be a big referral engine person. There's a consultant I love named Alan Weiss. He wrote about value-based fees and he wrote about referrals. Best guy I've written or read. Best written words I've heard on those 2 subjects. Yeah, $1 Million Consulting. Great guy. Name's Alan Weiss. Yeah, and again, my email will be up. You can ask me these questions. I'll send out an email if you want. But he's fabulous on understanding how to get referrals and actually just general consulting. Partnerships. Working a deal this morning. Had breakfast with 2 guys. I don't know if I think they're in the room. Company was in the payroll services business. Not my thing, but we have some value to add. So together, 2 small agencies, we're going to partner together and approach this client. They're local to them, so it's a good fit. Bingo. Yeah, the Consulting Bible is one of those guys' books. Partnerships can help you. Outsourcing. I'm going to get into this for just real quick. Do what you do best and outsource the rest. This is us. We don't do design. We don't do graphics. We don't do PR, traditional PR stuff. I'll write press releases. We'll do a little bit of pay-per-click, but not a lot, just because I don't like it. We don't like doing it. And we do outsource a little bit of writing, but not as much now that my daughter's working with us. So again, not that ours is the only way to do it. There's lots of ways to do that, but my recommendation would be pick the core things that you do well and do them well. So what do you want to outsource? Is it core? Is it core to the value message that you're going to create? That passion, skill, need intersection. Is it core to that? If it's not, consider outsourcing it. Is it critical to the success of the engagements? If it's core and critical, you probably want to think about doing it. Is it commodity or easily replaced? Something you want to think about outsourcing. Again, is it efficient for you to do the work? We can do some graphics work in-house, but we're really slow at it and it's not great. So why would I waste our time? We outsource it. And again, do you make high margins on it? Do the things that are high margin. If it's low margin work, outsource it. Pay-per-click's one of those things for us. We can get pay-per-click done get a nice campaign for clients for $500 a month. A lot of work, very efficient. We can't do it for $500, so we outsource it. And again, one of my favorites, do you enjoy it? If you don't like doing it, don't do it, for crying out loud. There's somebody here that can do it. The service marketplace, the ad marketplace, you can find somebody. Okay, in your marketing, again, talk about inbound. Service marketplace is interesting, but service marketplace, I warn you on that a little bit. If you don't focus on your persona, you don't do your qualifying, you can get leads from the service marketplace that may tempt you to go outside that. So just be careful. And again, be careful with the service marketplace because it's chopping things up into what? The tasks, right? So be careful with the service marketplace. I love it. We've gotten business from it, but it's a little bit, for the small guys. For the big guys, I think that's great. Do I like what? The category for coaching. Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good one. There's a lot of people out there that those are nice, smaller engagements. Yeah, I think coaching is actually good. We don't list on coaching, but I think I'm going to. The only place we list is do inbound for me. We don't list for any of the specific things. So again, just have a strategy. Do it thoughtfully. Again, referrals is a big one. Networking. If you're new, if you're starting your business. Network heavy duty networking, get referrals, and don't just rely on inbound. Again, you want to upsell and cross-sell, that's the project. Get in the door if you can. But again, you're always, as soon as you're in the door, you're always looking for new opportunities. And then cut to grow. So again, for a small agency, I think it's important that you cut out clients that aren't profitable or that you don't like working with because the money might be nice, but again, my experience is that the opportunity cost the things you lose in terms of your peace of mind and your time, where you could be focusing on your persona, your target, it's not worth it. Cut them, move on. Don't be afraid to do it. Every time we cut clients or moved on, we got bigger ones really quickly. And then, do you like working with them? If you don't like working with them, don't be, a small agency, you should love everybody you work with. And then again, set limits. Don't be afraid to make your clients follow them. We've got West Coast clients. I make them agree up front. Look, I'm willing to work 6, 7 o'clock in the evenings, but I'm just not going to be on the phone with you at 9 o'clock at night. I try not to do client work on Saturdays and Sundays. I will if it's an emergency, but again, set your limits. And again, you'll be a better marketer, you'll be a better company, a better consultant if you set limits, whatever works for you. And then just, again, if you're talking to a peer, they'll understand that. They'll respect that. If you're talking to a VP of marketing or VP of sales or somebody who's not your peer, or you haven't positioned yourself as a peer, they may say, you're my Twitter monkey, you answer the phone when I call you. So, anyway, kind of rushed through the end there, but that's our presentation today. I'm available. Please feel free to call me, email me. I'd be happy to answer questions. I get people calling me all the time. 2.5 years doesn't seem like a long time, but I think compared to most people, we've been doing this for a while. I think we were about the 30th or 35th VAR in the program, so we're pretty early. So anyway, thank you all very much.